Yes, happy Father's Day, Phil. You know I
Thank
love
you,
you.
and I can let you know I can do those moves. I can.
Oh, that's the surest sign of love from me is when you're included in a video. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to you to our Sunday gathering. As you can see, I'm joined by beautiful Kerry and wonderful Phil. And I'm Sandra, if we have not yet met. Whether you're watching us live or watching the replay, we're so glad you're here. It is Father's Day around the world. Phil is our father from our gathering here. I think we have some other fathers here. If you're a dad, raise your hand. Press that raise hand button. We'd love to honor you. I know, ladies and gentlemen, our fathers live in all kinds of places. Some are here on this physical plane, and some are not. In fact, I had heard that song by Neil or by Paul Simon before, but something just hit me in that way that I felt my dad standing right here behind me with his hand on my shoulder. I got a little choked up there. It's been 14 years since my dad entered the spirit world, but he's always close by, always close to my heart. And wherever your dad is, you know the love is there. So today on our Sunday gathering, we are celebrating Father's Day in our special way. We have Kerry and Phil that will be doing our medium demonstration today, also joining me on with the address and also doing our prayers. Of course, I'm behind the scenes working the magic of the computer and the music and things. I'll do the reading for you, the healing, and also a few words for the week. But wherever you are, whatever you're up to, we really thank you for taking this time to be with us. Know that you're never alone. You've got a community of friends around the world. If you can imagine this globe spinning and all these bright lights, that's all of us in the Sunday gathering. And around each one of those lights are thousands of lights of our loved ones that are here as well. So with that, welcome. I'm going to turn it over to one of my friends for the opening prayer.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and a very appropriate theme for today. As we enter into today's Sunday gathering, allow us to enter within the usual way in prayer. Divine, ever-present Spirit, today on this special day, we honor all those people who have walked this earth and who have transitioned to spirit world and who have been within our lives as the role of father, whether it be father, pop, dad, or any other word in any other language that means somebody who has loved us and taken care of us and nurtured us as fathers would. Allow us in this time together, whether our fathers are here on the planet in this physical world, or whether they are in an invisible world of spirit, know that our hearts are open, our minds are present, and our wishes today go out to every single person who takes on that role, every single person who has stood in for, and every single person who has been called Father. Amen.
Thank you so much, Kerry. Okay, for the reading, I found a few short stories that share some dad wisdom and more. This one, it says, I sat in my dad's living room reading one night while he watched television. An hour passed before I realized it. I felt bad for not speaking to him during this time. I asked if he was okay, and he said yes. Then he apologized for not talking more to me. Carmen, my dad said to me, talking is like ketchup. If you don't like the meat enough, you don't, oh, sorry. If you like the meat enough, you don't need to put ketchup on it. If you like the company enough, you don't need the conversation. My dad never earned a college degree, but he was the smartest person I ever knew. And that's from Carmen in Massachusetts. Here's another. My dad delivered bread for a living. We enjoyed each other's company, so he'd drive home at lunchtime and I'd go with him. One day, we delivered to a large grocery store. When we pulled in the back, the manager saw me and said, "Hey, I heard it's your birthday, so go pick out anything you like from our toy aisle for free. I was so excited. I grabbed some paper dolls, but the big surprise was still ahead. You see, Dad and the store manager and all the employees stood with a huge lit cake, and they sang happy birthday to me. It was my 7th birthday, and this was my first ever birthday party, and my dad arranged it just for me. Thanks, Dad. That's from Debbie in Washington State. This one. My dad died unexpectedly at 78, leaving our family heartbroken. During the funeral mass, my sister felt her phone vibrate in her purse. She was a little surprised that someone would be calling her, knowing she was at Dad's funeral mass. Afterward, she found there was a message. "Hi, this is your dad," said the male voice. "I wanted you to know that I made it home." The caller obviously had the wrong number, but the message was clear. My dad had completed his journey to heaven and wanted us to know. Thanks, Dad. Until we meet again. And that's from Nancy in Michigan. What I'd like to do is just play a couple-minute video from Steve Harvey. For Americans, you know who he is. He's a game show host and he is a talk show host. But I found this clip on YouTube and it just kind of warmed my heart. So I thought you might like to see it as well. Definitely. Happy Father's Day. That just touched my heart. I thought it would for you as well. As we move into our healing song, I found a song, it's a Taylor Swift song. It's a little longer than our usual healing songs, and I thought we could do two things. In the beginning, when the song begins to play, my request, a little tears here, is that you imagine your dad with you, whether he's alive or in the spirit world. And what would you like to tell him? Perhaps there's some words of gratitude, a big hug, and then give a little time. And what words would your dad like to say to you? All right, would you do that for me? And as we move into our healing, that's also the time that we send love and good wishes to all corners of this world. Picture people, places, animals, healthy, whole, well. I know, I'm 100% sure of it, that those in the unseen world use our energy and direct it where it is needed in the world. So we'll keep all of you in our prayers today and your loved ones as well. So let's go into our healing song. And again, start off with a little tribute and a few words to your dad.
Sandra, Kerry, ladies and gentlemen, what an honour it is to be able to speak here on the Sunday gathering once more, but on such a special day for men, for fathers and dads. And I thought I had everything mapped out in my mind, and this address would be quite easy until I watched that video of Steve Harvey's, and it hit me. And I didn't realise how emotional it would get me, because I understand it. As a father of 3, and I have an adopted stepdaughter, okay, that I class as my own. The law might say different, but she is not stepdaughter, she is my daughter. It's taught me through my life to look at things differently. I still remember the first day when I found out I was having a daughter, and I remember exactly where I was, and I remember exactly what I did, and I remember the exact language that came out of my mouth, and I was not bothered who heard me, because that moment I was so excited. My life changed, and I knew it would do, and I didn't care at that moment who heard me or who saw me, because there was nothing going to take that joy away from me. And it has been a joy with that daughter for 23 years, and my 2 younger sons as well. But it's not been plain sailing. It's not been easy. And when I say that, because I'm a very proud father, but I've also been a part-time father as well, not through my choice, but relationships break up. We don't always see the children as much as we would like to, or have that involvement in their life as we would like to. But it doesn't mean that we stop caring because we're out of sight and we don't see them. The amount of times that I would sit and pray to make sure that they were okay when they weren't with me or I didn't see them was incredible. The amount of times I rung one of their mothers up to say, are they okay? Because I had that connection. I knew when things were wrong. I knew when things were right. And even though I might not have got an invite to those days at school when they had their activities out on the field for the mums and dads, I was there at the railings watching. I knew the day and I'd turn up. So many years later, when one of them said to me, well, Dad, it would have been nice to see you there. And I reminded them and I showed them footage that I was there and they were touched. It's not about what we are seen doing, it's the things behind the scenes that we do as a father, as a parent, just as mothers do too. And sometimes it doesn't get recognized, and sometimes it feels like nobody sees what we do. But actually, it's not about who sees, it's how we feel. It's where our intention is for every action that we have. Today, this Father's Day, is the first time in my life I've got 3 Father's Day cards from each of my children. So when I opened one card, I didn't recognize the writing and I read the words and I've got to admit, I cried. I cried out loud. And I thought, today can't get any better. Then I remember my youngest son's card and I grabbed hold of it. I opened that one and the words were just, I can't repeat them. I can't think about them if I'm honest, because I know I would be in tears. To picture them writing those words and meaning it, because those words are not something that are generally given. They were thought about. And for all the things that they've known me, for what I've done for them, and all the things that I've done that they've not known about behind the scenes, those words made up for. Those words made sure that I felt right. And I'm proud to be their father. I'm proud to be their dad. But it's the things that we do, like I've said, behind the scenes, where we go out of our way to make sure they're safe, to make sure they're protected, to make sure that they eat, they're clothed, they get to do what other children do, even though you're not there all the time. And that's one thing that my dad taught me, because he said to me, sat me down and said, look, life might not be great for you at the moment, but you have 3 wonderful children, and you make sure that you do everything that you can for them to make yourself proud. And I remember his words. He says, I'm not telling you what to do. You'll find what to do. And he was right. And this year he's 92 years old. He might not be in the best shape. He's still my man mountain. He's still my rock. He's still that person that I go to, even though his health is deteriorating, even though his mind is deteriorating. There's things that we remember as children that our parents do for us. And it's not just the actions, it's the words in those moments where we might feel low. And it's just that outstretched arm that brings us in and hugs us, that makes you feel $1 million, that takes all your worries away. That's what a mother and father does without any words. So for all those dads, and when I say dads, I'm not just talking about the biological dads where it's blood, but those that have taken on those roles as fathers, that have stood up for their children, that have made sacrifices for them, that have put things to one side, that may have not always been the best choices for us, but we've taken those choices to make sure they're fine, they're well, and they're looked after. It's something that is ingrained in us. It's something that we do. And I think it shows the intent, not just with children, but every endeavor in life, that that sentiment is there, the right intention is there, the meaning is there for every action. Because we're not just in that moment showing our children, we're actually the leaders, if you will. So even when we think that they're not watching, they are. They're taking everything in. And it was a few years ago, my youngest son came to me and said, Dad, I need to share something with you. And he shared something of a personal situation, but he involved Kerry here and said, I think the world of you. I know that you're not my mum, but you care for me, and I know what you say is truthful. And that moment, everything changed. And he's turned out to be, and he's only 17, turned out to be a wonderful young man. And I know he's maturing. And even in the last few days where he's been with us, the amount of progression in his maturity is beyond his years. His thoughts, his actions, about not just about in that moment, but thinking ahead. It just fills us with joy, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen, when we see our children or hear of our children doing things for others and helping other people. That's quite a selfless act. And it's that understanding that we need to really cherish that we've done something or molded somebody or inspired somebody to be their own independent person. We want them to have a voice. We want them to have choices. We've got to give them the freedom to do that. And when we do, we see their growth. We see what they're capable of. And we might not agree with some of their choices at the time, as I have with my daughter. But actually, she's proved me wrong. I've held my hand up as that dad and said, I was wrong, you were right. I am so proud of you for the choices and actions you've done because they make sense. I acted from a fear as a father, wanting the best for her and thought there might be risks involved, but actually she thought it through. So if we give them the freedom, then they show us what we've taught them. And that is better than any gift or card that we can ever receive in life, is to see them happy, to see them smile, and to see them cherish a wonderful, beautiful life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Father's Day, Dad's Day, is one day a year. It sounds like a really obvious thing to say, doesn't it? One day a year. But if we are parents, it's not a one day a year job. It's not a role that's just one day a year. I know that Phil works incredibly hard to make sure that his children are there for him, or he's there for them. The words, can I share the words?
Mm-hmm.
The words that his youngest said, there was a lot of words, but the part that Phil cried at was, thank you for teaching me it wasn't main,
Oh,
the most important lessons in life. To get an acknowledgement from a young man who, let's face it, he's a carbon copy of his dad. Highly emotional, doesn't really show his emotions if he can help it, takes a day to think about something and then says it a day later.
No.
Says no to everything until he's thought about it and puts things off sometimes. He is a carbon copy of his dad. But to have that card from him and for Phil to receive 3 cards was incredibly important. Now, I know there's people out there who have more than one dad. They have father-in-laws, they have stepdads, they have people who have stepped in as dad. I know some of the ladies out there have had to be mum and dad at times. I know that during bringing my daughter up, I was at some points in my daughter's life mum and dad. But I'm somebody who has 1, 2, 3 dads, really. I've got a lovely father-in-law who was part of my life for a long time, not Phil's dad, another gentleman's dad. I have a biological dad in the spirit world who I don't have that very many memories of. And then I have a lovely gentleman currently in Scotland, probably watching the football, that I call Dad. He got involved with a lady, my mum, and decided to take on a ready-made family. Yes, I have a younger brother and he's nothing like me. He obviously takes over off my dad. But my dad stepped in every way possible. He stepped in financially, mentally, physically, and most importantly, emotionally. Now, dads don't have the easiest job in the world, do they? They have a difficult time of it. But he's been an absolute star. And I know he probably won't watch this, but I'd just like to say, love you, Dad.
Thank you, Kerry and Phil, for your beautiful words. Where does one go? Well, my dad, John Champlain, yes, I said he passed 14 years ago, but it's actually, I just counted on my little fingers. It's been 15 Father's Day that he's spent in the spirit world. And we owe Dad a lot, especially being here on the Sunday gathering, because of course it was out of the tumultuous times in my dad's passing that I did a lot more research on the afterlife, investigations towards grief. Why does the families come apart when a loved one dies? And so all of that turned into my book, my podcasts, meeting up with Kerry, Phil, Darren, and Scott, and leading to the Sunday gathering today. So thanks, Pop, for all of that. Now, some people think because I've been investigating the afterlife so much, and my dad's lived there so long, that I must have this close relationship with him and talk to him all the time. In fact, a lot of people think that. They just assume that Dad and I have this ongoing communication. I have to be honest, we don't. It's not because he doesn't stand by my side. In fact, 90% of mediums that have given me a reading have given me real good personal information that's not out there on the internet or not written in my book, but they say one thing in common, that he stands by my side and he's helping me in life and all the work there is to do, sharing the good word of life and the afterlife. So I believe he's right here. But the thing is, around the time of my dad's passing was the most painful part of my life, not only losing him, but losing the relationships with my siblings. I wish to say everything's healed and wonderful, but it's not. And that's how life is. So when it became Father's Day and time to plan the Sunday gathering, I had to ask myself, do I want to dip my toe into those scary, dark waters? Do I want to bring up memories? See, for me, that Pandora's box, and I know you may feel it too, is once you start getting into some memories, it seems like the floodgates open and they all come back. So I had a little fear thinking about this, and I know my dad loves me no matter what I do. But when I opened up the memory bank today, the first things that popped in there were not the things that happened when he passed. It was these joyous memories that we had together. My dad taught me how to fly an airplane, and when I was 16 years old, I soloed all by myself up in the sky. Yes, I did. But there was one time that we flew our airplane into a little airport, and they had a breakfast place there. And so Dad and I had breakfast, and one of his friends flew in this high performance aerobatic airplane called a Kristen Eagle. It was a biplane. It was painted an eagle on the side, but in the colors of the rainbow. And Dad and I had gone to lots of air shows, and I loved that Kristen Eagle. And this fellow said, Sandra, do you want to ride? Oh, yes. So I had to strap into a parachute. My dad followed us in our little airplane, and no sooner we take off, and this guy turns the airplane upside down, and he says, Sandra, you've got it. And of course, my dad's on the microphone in the back on the radio saying, she just had breakfast. She's going to be sick. No, I had a smile on my face the whole time. We did loops and rolls, and when it was over, it was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. It wasn't until I got older and I realized that our favorite experiences are something new, doing something new with someone you love. That was one of them. There's another time that we went deep sea fishing We actually went on a 2-day fishing expedition off the coast of Connecticut for the big tuna. There were 17 men and only one girl, and that was me in my young 20s. And everyone was making fun of me, saying, this is a guy's thing. Girls shouldn't be here. I said, well, there's a ladies' room on board, so I'm not the first. But yes, as much as they heckled me, guess who caught the most fish? Guess who caught the biggest fish? Yes, it was me. So by the end of that trip, people were asking, how was I baiting the hook? What was I doing? So that memory came up when I was thinking of Dad. And then also the other memories that came up was when he was in the hospital room shortly before his passing, before things really turned for the worst. I would bring my computer, my laptop, into his hospital room, and I had a plug so we could put two headsets on. And I would bring funny movies, like the old Airplane series and Carol Burnett, and just funny stuff. And we would laugh. We would just laugh. That memory came up. And then the last memory, or I had two memories. One came up that just before he passed, I had that courage to tell him about my investigations into the afterlife. And oh, I was scared because Dad went to church every day, Catholic. All he wanted to do was be a living example of Jesus's work. So here was his daughter now saying that I believe in the afterlife, and I've been to medium classes, and I just felt like I had to tell him because we all knew Dad's days were numbered. And when I had the guts to share what I knew, at that point, I had taken a couple of medium classes. And in my mind's eye, I saw a yellow airplane, a Piper Cub, a tail dragger, yellow with black lettering. And I told my dad, because it was one of those things that just kind of came out of the blue. And in my head, I heard a man laughing, saying, tell your dad he was wrong, that you do get to bring your toys with you. And so I had to share this, as scared as I was, talking to my Jesus-loving dad, Catholic dad, and his eyes just opened up wide. You see, just a few months before, his friend Jim died. Dad and Jim used to ride bikes together, and Jim was also a pilot, and he had a yellow Piper Cub with black letters. And my dad tried to help him with cancer, saying, Jim, you got to fight this. You're going to beat it. Because Jim, you don't get to take your toys with you to heaven. So at that point, Dad wanted to know everything I knew. And he's the one who made me promise I'd write a book. And here we are today. The last memory was just from his funeral. It was a tough one. He was a pilot. They did the flyover with the missing man formation. I can't even think about it or else I'll cry. But I had so many of my dad's friends come up to me and tell me stories of these things Dad did, stories that no one knew about. Dad volunteered a lot. He gave a lot to charity. He helped children. He would work with kids and he'd say, if you can improve your grades from, say, a C to an A, I'll teach you how to fly an airplane. So all these people came up to me, and Dad left this legacy, but he never told anybody, So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I think all human beings were works in progress. It doesn't matter how long Kerry and Phil have been mediums or I've been investigating the afterlife. We're still people. We're still doing the best we can. We still deal with emotions. We still deal with family matters, etc. Struggles of all kinds. But the thing is, I'd like to just share, and I'm talking to you as much as I'm talking to myself right now, is don't be afraid of memories. Don't be afraid of walking down memory lane. In fact, I've interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of people that do that inspired writing, when they have a notepad or their computer in front of them and they start talking to their loved ones who are in spirit. The one common denominator they had is they're taking a trip down memory lane and they're feeling emotions. And in that emotion, I think it just opens a door. And so while the first words might come out of your fingertips and you might think, oh, this is just me writing, sometimes it happens that words you don't use, terms that they used, and and you don't, start coming through, and you can really build that relationship. Are they here? Can you talk to them and they're listening? Absolutely. But if you're anything like me, if as soon as I start talking mentally, next thing you know, my belly's growling. I think, what am I making for dinner? But there's something about writing or speaking out loud that I think makes that difference. So I don't know if that helps you or not. But bottom line, don't be afraid of memories. I was afraid of opening that Pandora's box of memories, but what came up were just the happiest times. And as far as memories go, when you're with somebody you love, doing something new, that's a good way to make memories, whether it's Father's Day or any day. You've got somebody you love, go find something new to do. So I want to thank you all for listening to our address today. We're going to move on now to our demonstration of mediumship. And we have the fabulous Kerry and Phil with us today. Yes, we do. And always so lovely to be with them. I just feel the love. I think you guys probably feel it too. Anybody else feel a little emotional right now? It's all good. It's all good. This is what being human is. Well, it's not just Kerry, Phil, and I, and you guys that are here for our Sunday gathering. We have loved ones in the spirit world that join us. They join us during the day. They're part of our lives. But on our Sunday gathering, we get to hear from a few of them, and we get to hear just how close they really are. So whether it's Kerry or Phil working, they'll invite someone from the spirit world to work with them. And just as Kerry, Phil, and I designed the order of service today. We've got spirit friends who have designed who's coming up and who's going to say what and whose loved ones are here. And believe it or not, they know you're here. They certainly do. You could think you're all alone out for a walk, just listening for a little while. Oh, they know you're here. So really listen in close. Kerry or Phil will give a few initial bits of information about the spirit person that is with them. They might say, if it's a man or a female, male or female, maybe what they did for a living, maybe their relationship. But be on the edge of your seat. Really listen in, because it's those first few bits of information that's going to identify the person. If you're listening and you think, oh my gosh, that sounds like somebody I knew that no longer walks this earth. It could be a loved one. It could be a friend. It could be somebody you worked with. Could be family member, maybe somebody a little distant. But if you can understand all those bits of information that they shared as your person, we want you to press your raise hand button. And I did say all the information. We have over 100 people here with us today. So if you can maybe take 1 out of 4 things, don't press your raise hand button. If you can understand all the words they say describing this person, then press the raise hand button. And this is always participation time. So go find that raise hand button. Even if you've done this 221 times before, press it. And it's a good practice to see, okay, it says raise hand. Now it says lower hand, raise hand, lower hand. Why is this important? Because sometimes more than one person can take all the information. Kerry or Phil will continue working so that we're left with one person's hand raised. So you'll need to know where that lower hand button shows up, okay? And what else can I say? If you are somebody who works with our medium today, we need your voice. I know you don't see anywhere on your screen where you can press unmute, but if you're the last hand standing, I've got a button on my side that I press, something pops up on your side, and you'll see the unmute button that pops up. Whether you're working with our medium on a Sunday gathering or any time, do your very best not to what's called feed the medium. Don't tell them about your loved one. Let them do the work, okay? So all we need from you is a good, loud yes, no, or I don't know to the information that they give. And no is not a bad thing. It's not. No, as Kerry and Phil describe in their classes, simply means new opportunity. So if something doesn't fit, say no. It's okay. But when it does fit, say yes. And for those listening, you might think, oh, my loved one has never come through. Oh, how come this person's getting a reading? Just because someone else gets a reading does not mean your loved one is not there. They all work together. And if you pay extra close attention, just as Kerry, Phil, and my address might have hit a nerve with you today, those spirit folks can hit a nerve, and those words are for all of us. So really pull the information towards you. Someday we'll understand how it works behind the scenes in the spirit world, but not today. So with that, we're going to trust that the words coming through are for all of us. Okay. So we always like to play a piece of music, a feel good piece of music. This is a feel good song we all know and love, but we could have a little extra dancer at the very end. There's a little hint for you. This is a good time just to feel joy, feel love, feel that gratitude, great memories with dad, and feel them in the room. Your loved ones who are no longer with you, or even if they're still alive but not with you, imagine them all in your room and just sing a little song with them. All right, let me play the video and pay close attention to the. That's known as Sandra Magic for anybody who's new with us. And Phil, I love you.
I
And
love you too, and it's a good
there you
job,
go.
really. And it's a good job. I like some of the participants as well with their little comments they're saying about nice skills improving, and who knew Phil was so talented, and who knew that Phil has to really be disciplined when he's about to work as a medium and sees himself dancing all over, sort of thing. Okay, but ladies and gentlemen, that's what Dad is about, and maybe Sandra doesn't know this, but that's what I do to my kids and embarrass them and stuff. And that little scene with the lawnmower as it flew off, well, I can tell you a story or two of things like that. So we'll not go there. That's the past, Phil, anyway. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to work as a medium. So, ladies and gentlemen, just keep your minds open and let's see who comes forward. We can't guarantee that, but let's just hope that the spirit world are very, very clear as they can be here. Because I do feel I've got a bit of a character, and I've got to let you into a little secret. I don't feel he's just come. I feel he's been with me for about 20 minutes. So I know I've got Dad. I know he can be annoying as well. And he is that embarrassing Dad as well. And there must be a memory of Dad dressing up in fancy dress. And I get the impression with the fancy dress that it would have been like a Superman cape or something to do with Superman as well. But I also feel that Dad would have been that proud father, and it's almost he's got traits that I recognize here, because I actually feel that he would always turn up early to events for you or get you there way too early, almost like a little bit embarrassing where we have to sit around as well. So I know I've got Dad. I know he's that character. I know he can be embarrassing. I know there should be a memory of him dressing up as fancy dress, and I've got the impression it's a superhero. I get the impression it's Superman, but I know there's that embarrassing side to him as well, because he just feels mischievous. So I know I've got to get to the right person.
Thank you, Phil. All right, friends, who understands this information? Go ahead and press your raise hand button for us. All right. Well, we have Tessa with her hand raised. And Tessa, if you can see that unmute button and press it. Hi, Tessa.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hello,
Thank
Tessa.
you.
You're welcome. Do you understand everything I've said, Tessa?
Yes, actually.
And would you understand where Dad did dress up as like a superhero at a fancy dress party?
The dress ups, there
Yes,
are many different dress
because
up
I just get the
suits.
impression that he could be a little bit embarrassing because he loved it a little bit too much.
Yes.
Because again, it doesn't feel, I've got to be honest, as a medium, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know what he's going to do next, because I know he's got that personality side to him that he likes to be a bit of a prankster.
That
Yep,
sounds completely right.
good. Because it's almost like I just want to be I want to say I'm a grown-up child, so I know that Dad could be immature at times.
Yes.
Okay. But I also know as well he liked to tell dad jokes. They weren't always funny. He thought they were, but he had those little one-liners that weren't, they were a little bit not funny, if you know what I mean.
Oh my
Yep.
God. Yes.
Yeah. And it's almost where I want to say when Dad was about and Dad was in this mood, there wouldn't be a dry eye. I know people would be crying with laughter. He could entertain them.
Yes.
Yep. And I get this sense with him as well, that he loved to entertain, he loved to be the centre of attention, but not in an egotistical way. It's almost where he had the thought or a motto of just making people smile. He loved to do that.
Very much so.
But I also know there's a serious side to him. He had a wonderful way where he could uplift you and make you feel a lot better, Tessa.
Yes.
And it's almost where I want to say it wasn't always just words or actions. He could pull you in and give you that hug, and that made you feel safe and secure.
Yes.
I also know with your dad, he wouldn't judge you either. He wouldn't judge things that went on, whether you were right or wrong. He was always there and he would always listen.
Very unconditional, yes.
Correct. But I also know that Dad also would do anything he could for the family. And I know he was a good provider because he would work long hours at times.
Yes.
And I also get the impression he had more than one job. So I know he was always looking to better himself.
That's true too.
Because I get that impression with him. But I also want to say, I just need to understand this a second. Would I be right in saying you didn't get to say your goodbyes to him properly, Tessa?
Indeed.
Because I know here all of a sudden he let you know that it's okay. And I also get the impression from him you've spoken your own words and apologized for not being there, even though you didn't need to.
That's true.
And I also know while I've been talking to you, you've actually said the words in your mind to your dad, I love you. Because you just said, tell her I heard and I love her too. And I get the impression with Dad here that it's almost for all his jokes and all his misbehaving in a good way. I want to say underneath, he didn't have the easiest of lives.
That makes sense.
Because it's almost where, and I know all three of us talked in the philosophy, the address, about doing things that are not always seen. I know with Dad, he did a lot for you in the background that wasn't acknowledged. Either it was a part of your life he wasn't around.
Oh my, that is true too.
Because again, it's almost where he wants to let you know he's always kept an eye on you, he's always kept an ear out for you, and that has not changed since his pass to the spirit world. He's very much devoted to you, he says. I want to say, oh, would I be right in saying he had your name tattooed on his arm?
No.
Then let me work with this for a second. And you've not got his name tattooed on your arm?
Not the name.
Not the name, but I know there's a tattoo in memory of him.
Exactly.
That's fine, because I know he wants to get my mind to work and get to it, because it's almost where Dad says, here you go, I know what you've done since I've passed. And I get that impression that he's one of those dads, again, like Steve Harvey said, not a father, he's a dad as well. And I know you have a picture displayed of him in your house and you still talk to it.
I do.
And I also know with that photograph, because he's laughing and said, it's just my personality. Wherever you go in the room, my eyes always follow you.
Yes.
That's fine. And I know here he had a way of embarrassing you. There must be memories where your dad caught you smoking at one time.
Oh, I
And
have to have a think.
I know I'm going back some time with that because it feels like I want to go to early school days here. So I know there's memories. But again, your dad, if he knew something was wrong, he would always keep it to himself. He wouldn't share it with Mum.
Oh, yes.
Because I know here he says, many secrets have gone with me as well. So I'm going to leave his love with you and thank you for allowing me to do that. But that's fine. There must be photographs you still have, Tessa, of him at these fancy dress parties or costumes?
Oh God, yes, I do.
Because I know here he says, when we go back through them, they bring so many memories and you can recall them and remember the times where he was having so much fun. You could see the life in his eyes. That's what he wants you to remember him for.
Thank
That's
you
fine.
so much.
And he's also just made me aware you still talk to him a lot as well,
I do.
because he's acknowledging those thoughts and those thoughts that you have and what you're planning in life. He says, I'm fully on board with. Your dad could be a little bit protective as well.
Yes.
And I also know if you were going somewhere, he would always make sure you had a packed lunch.
Um,
Because it's almost where I want to get my words out, push my teeth back in. I want to prepare food for you as well. So would I be right in saying, Tessa, there's a plan to go either on a holiday or a trip coming up very soon?
no.
I can't change this because it gives me the impression he's packing food for a trip. And I know it's been talked about as well. Your dad could be a little bit sarcastic at times as well. He could rib people and make fun of them.
Yes.
Because I know here he says the penny will drop and you'll remember what he's talking about here. I'm going to leave his love with you and say thank you. And by the way, he knows you've still got some of the cards that he gave you as well.
Yeah, I recently found one.
Good,
Yeah.
because he wants to acknowledge that to show that he sees and he knows what's going on. And he pays attention as well. And with that, I'm going to blow you a kiss because I just hear him blowing that kiss to you like he would do. I'm going to say thank you very much, Tessa, for allowing me to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You're absolutely wonderful yourself, Tessa. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you, Phil. And Dad.
Okay. Oh, I've got more than one person with me. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe here, I'm just going to look at this for a second to choose my words, how to present this in the best way. I do know that I have mum and I have dad here. I do know that they were differences on quite a big scale. So I know they didn't always see eye to eye, and I know their relationship parted very politely. I also know that it feels like mum would have either stopped the person I want to talk to from seeing dad for a while, which I know is not the easiest thing to deal with. But I also understand that dad came back into your life later in years. So that must make sense to somebody.
All right. Thank you so much, Phil. All right. We have two ladies with their hands raised.
Okay. Okay. Because I've just seen the names of these two people, and I know, ladies and gentlemen, I know these two people. So I'm just asking the people to give me things I don't know. Okay. Right. Okay. So I know, as I work with father, I know that father would have lived in New York City. I also feel as well that even though there was difficulties with mum and dad, I feel that dad either played mum and dad for a while as well.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay. We have Nina with her hand raised, and thank you, other ladies, for listening in. Hi, Nina.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Nina. So you
Hi.
understand everything I've said?
I do.
Good. And just to let people know, ladies and gentlemen, I do know Nina, so this is going to be difficult for me, but as that professional medium, I want to make sure that I get evidence I don't know. Would I also be correct, Nina, that your dad also could have a bit of a frustration and anger with him at times?
Yes.
And if I said even though he was well-meaning, sometimes it slipped out in your direction.
Yeah.
But I also feel as well, it wasn't even though it might come in your direction, it wasn't meant to. It was from frustrations of life,
Correct.
because it feels where Dad got a raw deal, almost where he had to really struggle to make ends meet.
That's correct.
And I also believe he would have worked very long hours for himself.
Yes.
It's almost where I want to say his day job became his home life as well. So I know he would bring the work home.
Correct.
And you would also see him at work at home.
Yes.
But I want to say Dad would have shown you and taught you about his job.
He did.
And he must have either, bear with me, you must have been quite young when he first showed you his work.
I was.
Because I get the impression where he would either sit you on his lap, showing you the details of his work.
Right.
And would I be right in saying you've either still got either and I don't know what this is called, but I know what it's used for. It's to look at things it's almost like a microscope, but it's a miniature thing.
The loop. Yes.
You've still got it.
Right.
That's fine, because I know, I'm glad you know what I'm talking about. I can see it and I can see through it, but I can't tell you what it's called. But again, you must still have that. But I also feel as well that your dad nurtured you to look at fine details of things.
I don't know.
Then
I don't
would I
know.
be right saying in his work, the scrutiny, the detail was very important?
Yes. That's an absolute yes.
Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to check on this. I know that your dad had something to do with gems, and I'm leaving that to one side. But would I be right in saying he either dug his own or got his own?
That's correct.
And forgive my terminology, I'm not just talking about diamonds. They would be different types of stones of different
Yes,
colors.
they would be different. Right.
But I want to go to a specific place, either in South America, would that be correct?
Yes.
Where it's a particular type of gem you can dig out of the ground yourself.
Correct.
Because again, and you must have either gone with him on like field trips or expeditions, shifting rocks and digging things up.
Yes, I would have been in those places.
That's fine as well. And I also believe that your dad, besides that, would have shown you elements of nature, or told you or educated you to certain aspects of nature as well.
Yes.
Almost like mushrooms and fungi and stuff like that.
He knew a lot about that stuff.
That's fine, because he's showing me all kinds of things here. And it's somewhat, because where I said he nurtured you with fine detail, I feel that this is what he's talking about as well. But there also must be memories where we did this, where there would have been pine forests.
I don't recall.
Forgive me. Would I be right in saying he used to live in Florida at one time?
I don't know if he lived there.
But there must have been either family ties there.
Yes.
Because I know we're going at the end of August, but I get the impression that that's where I want to be with him as well. And if I said that your dad had a mind that he wanted to know not just his job, but worldly events like the news.
Correct.
And I also believe with your dad that he could be very much, he would try his hand at different things like electrical things and fix them.
I don't remember.
Would I be right in saying that he never liked to waste money?
I guess. I mean,
because
I don't know.
Okay, because I get the sense here that I like to try and make do and mend things before I buy
That
them.
makes sense.
Because I know here it's just what he's showing me, it's understanding it that I don't want to waste money. I will try and fix things here as well. And your dad must have had one of the old transistor radios he listened to as well.
There was one of those.
Okay. Because it feels like it spent more time being tuned in than actually working. So, excuse me. But I know he's around you at the moment, bringing that upliftment. He was also a man that wouldn't explain himself either.
Yeah.
He did things his own way, and that wasn't always followed easily. It's almost like people questioned or people looked at him strange for what he did as well. And your dad had an uncanny knack at catching you out.
Yes, he did.
Because I know he just seems to be in the wrong place at the right time, unfortunately for you. So I know that.
Yep.
I'm going to leave his fun, his mischievous side, but also about knowledge of the world and future things here, because it's almost like we're looking at many other things than just, how can I put this? Your dad wasn't one for settling for the now. He was always looking ahead, trying to achieve.
I don't know.
You don't know. There must have been a time where he talked to you about either wanting to live in a better place or a bigger house.
I'm gonna have to say no.
That's absolutely fine, because I know here, would I be right in saying we used to live not on the ground floor, but above ground one time?
Correct.
Because I know he's taking me to different properties here. And it's almost like I'm just seeing, that's okay. I know it's almost where he's showing me wanting better for the future, but I know that's about the message for you about better for the future. I'm going to leave that with you, and thank you for making me work so hard as a medium to push things out that I know to try and get new is always a good thing. So thank you very much, Nina.
Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome. You ready, Megan?
Yeah.
Do you want me to work?
I think you should.
Okay.
Let me recover.
It's Father's Day.
Put my feet
Thank
up.
you, Phil. Thank you so much.
Oh, it is an absolute pleasure to be here. I always love watching Phil work, but the power of the spirit world coming in, and right now, I did have them, and I don't now. Do you have somebody?
Oh, okay, let's see where we go. No, that can't be right. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I know I have a lady. I don't know. I'm just going to take a second just to understand this properly. I don't think anyone's going to admit to this one, but we'll see. I know that I have. No, that can't be right. Can't be right. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay, Phil, I'll go next then.
No, it's not a case of that. It's a case of, do I trust what I've got? Okay, I feel.
I can hear voices on the other side of this camera going, trust what you get.
Well, I know, but I don't want to offend anybody or say it the wrong way. So I want to talk about a father in the spirit world, but I know, how can I put this? He would have spent time in prison, and I get the sense you would have lived with either grandmother for a period of time, and it's almost where grandmother would tell you stories about dad. That's the politest way I can do this, I think. So I know I have grandmother, I know I have dad, I know dad would have served his time, okay? I don't feel there was anything bad that dad did in way of harming people in that way, but I know I'm going to be very polite. He would borrow things, and that's what got him in trouble.
Thank you very much, Phil. All right, friends, if you understand this information, go ahead and press your raise hand button for us, please. All right, we have Samantha with her hand raised. Samantha, if you could press your unmute button. Hi, Samantha.
Hello,
Welcome.
Hello,
thank
Samantha.
you.
Do you understand everything I've said?
Yes,
Okay. And you understand where Dad is in spirit and he did serve his time.
yes,
And you must have lived with grandmother for a period of time.
I did, but
If I
more
said,
with, okay,
bear
go
with
ahead.
me, if I said, Samantha, that grandmother didn't hold back, she would tell you stories about Dad's behavior and what he got up to.
I would say not a no
You would say no.
on that
But you,
part.
okay, but you have been told things, maybe not by grandmother, but that were about your father.
Yes,
That's fine, because I don't want to paint the wrong picture here, because if I said that even though what I seem could be deemed as negative, I want to say he was Dad and he did try.
yes,
And I want to say he's got a really loving nature to him, but it's almost where his mindset was caught in the wrong ideas.
yes,
I'm trying to be really polite. If I said that sometimes things sparkled and seemed golden, but always weren't,
I understand that.
that's fine, because it's almost like I want to make money and provide, but I'm not doing it the right way. But I also feel with Dad that he always had a story to tell.
I wish I could have heard more.
Okay, because I know there's he would have told stories, but I also feel here that, and it's going to sound really strange and it's hard for me to prove, but even though Dad wasn't always there, he wants you to know he's by your side. He wants you to know he's around now. And I know that there's been an impression here from him where he wants that forgiveness, he's got that sorrow and regret, but it's almost he listens to you where you've talked to him yourself
Yes,
since his past, and I know he hears things and is with you, and I know where, and forgive me, would I also be correct in saying there was times when Dad could have come to see you but didn't?
maybe.
Because I know he's got regrets and he wants to make up with things here. But and would I also be right in saying you still have either letters and cards from him?
Yes,
Because I know there was letters written, but I know I wasn't always present, and I know as a father sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. It is try to
yeah,
be there and because of things, okay, because I know he acknowledges this as well. Would I be right in saying there's still part of his jewelry rings still here?
yes,
Because again he keeps on trying to take the ring off my finger and I'm saying no, that's mine, but I know here, but he's got a personality to him, hasn't he? You don't know
yes,
what's coming next, and it's almost like he's a little bit of a live wire as well.
yes,
And I also believe as well that memories you have with your father, he would have always had his arm around you, kissing you on your head.
yes,
Because it's almost where I want to act these things out, but it's playing out in my mind. And again, it's almost where I just want to repeatedly say, and please understand, it's your father, not me. I love you. I love you. I love you. Because I know here I want to make a fuss of you. And it's almost where I want to make up for lost time. And I want to say there was a period of time we did make up, we did see each other and things were good.
yes,
And it's almost where he wasn't just father or dad, he was almost like your best friend. You were inseparable.
yes,
And I know here he just wants to come forward and let you know that even death is not going to keep you apart as well. And forgive me, you're if I said you've said some unpolitically correct words, you've chosen language at times where you've been frustrated with Dad, even though he's passed,
yes,
because he says he doesn't blame you, and he's repeating words that I'm not going to say. But again, it's not in a bad way, a negative way. It's very much in a banter between you. So you must have quite
hmm
had a open relationship, or very, what's the word I can say here? It's almost like you could tell each other things or curse and not be offended.
I don't think while alive, but yes.
Okay, so you do that now, because well, let me be honest, he's still alive, because some of the language I'm hearing I can't repeat, and I'm blushing, and I know Sandra would ban me. She's probably got a finger ready on the thing to mute me, but I know that this is just how Dad is as well. But you must have some old pictures of your dad when he was younger.
I do.
And it's almost where you can see he's a bit of a player, a bit of a character on them.
Yes.
And I want to say that the pictures, you must have some where he was either, when I say back in the day, where he was either a teenager or his very early 20s, where it shows him either with friends on the streets.
I just no.
Not exactly, but
Just
I know that. But you understand where I'm going with it?
Yes.
That's fine. Because I know here I'm choosing my words very carefully. But I want to say there must have been a time when your dad was part of either a crew or a gang as well.
Yes.
Because these are the photographs he's showing me. And
Okay.
if I said that that group is talked about still today.
Yes.
But I want to say it's not like it used to be, because Dad's given me that honor and respect here, where today it's a different type of community where those people get together. Is acknowledging that as well. And your dad, there must have been stories about your dad going back to either the 50s or 60s here.
Yes.
And if I said we used to live where, and forgive me, I'm going to make this clear to everybody, it's not your dad was part of organized crime, but your dad was around those members or those people at one time.
Yes.
And he must have, as a very youngster or child, run money or did things on their behalf.
I don't know exactly.
Okay. I have no way of proving that, but I know what I'm seeing. I watch too many films, but I know I've got that impression. And I know your dad has that banter and he has that side to him that very much, how can I put this? I want to big things up and make things more exciting. But I know that the things he's showing me are true, but I know it's the life he led. And I want to say this. It's almost where I kept and got out at the right time before things got too bad.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I know what I get here. But I want to say this to you, and this is not my words, but his words. What if he called you baby at one time?
Yes.
Because he just said, I love you, baby. So I know here.
Beautiful.
I don't want to just you to hear it from me. It's giving me the impression where he wants to say it directly, because I know you've been asking to hear him and be close to him, and this is why he's come forward. He's doing his best for you as well. But I want to say 2 nights ago, you either woke up in the middle of the night feeling something touched your cheek.
No.
Can you remember I've mentioned this, because I know he keeps on almost planting a kiss, not to me, because he's not that way, as he's just said, but I know it's that case of he wants to let you know he's close. I'm going to leave his love with you. Thank you very much for allowing me to do that, Samantha. Thank
Beautiful.
You.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time where we have to hand over back to the lovely Sandra Champlain. It is an absolute pleasure, as always, to be here on the Sunday Gathering, to work as that medium, to bring words to inspire you. But let me tell you, your loved ones are always around you, always trying to uplift you, inspire you. Mediumship's not just about proving that we live beyond the physical death. It's about healing. It's about inspiration, compassion, and empathy. And I'm going to leave with that. Pass back to Sandra.
Oh, thank you so much, Phil. Oh, beautiful. And do you see what I mean, everyone? Even though the might not have been for you, the reading, you got it. You did, and you feel just how close your loved ones are. They are. They are all here. And I was just talking to Kerry and Phil about mediumship. A lot of, I hear myself every Sunday gathering saying, our new classes are starting. You don't need to be a medium. You feel the joy, I think, and the camaraderie being on our Sunday gathering. Any one of our students, and so many of them join us here on our Sunday gathering, just to be in those rooms and those breakout rooms and understanding how your soul communicates and how loved ones communicate. You may not have a relative come through here, but that's who you work with on our classes. You do. You work soul to soul, soul to spirit. So if you ever need a little extra love and you want to join a club, come join us in a class. That's what I say. I do. So some great things coming up. First of all, in a couple days, Kerry and Phil are hitting the road. They're heading to North America, actually. You can pick up and join them on a class near Toronto in Ontario, Canada, coming up. And then also they are heading to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Their class, there's no room in the class, but they are doing a demonstration that you can be part of as well. So that is coming up. Also, we just found out in August, for you Floridians, they're going to be at the Cassadaga Spiritualist town of Cassadaga. They'll be doing a couple day event there, and our community member Mary Hayes is going to be there as well. So you get to meet Mary and hear from her. So that's in Cassadaga in August. In October, they'll be in New Jersey. So that's again here in the United States, and you can take in a course with them. Online things are great because some of us aren't traveling, but if you can, and you can see them live, they're really special, really special classes. Also, good things coming up online. They'll be back to teach our medium classes in August, but we got good things in store before then. Our dear friends Shirley Ann and Tim Southwell is here today. They're both experienced mediums and well-trained. They'll be leading our training classes, and also they have organized some all-student practice sessions. So you can practice using the power of your soul, soul-to-soul communication, also doing medium readings, demonstrating medium, training, all that good stuff. So there's good things to be done before August. So we'll keep all the students busy, Kerry and Phil, we promise. You can find out about this. Go to wedon'tdie.com. You can click on the Kerry and Phil page or the at-home courses page. I've listed all the classes coming up with Shirley Ann and Tim, the practice sessions. And just before the Sunday gathering started, I just posted those new classes that are coming in August. I haven't even told Kerry and Phil that I put them up there yet. I still have to do a little bit more work on the site, but they're there if you'd like to see them. Next week, we have Jennifer Brazier, medium Jennifer Brazier, who's going to be here with us on our Sunday gathering, doing the medium demonstration. There's a lot of good things coming up. Also, we have our good friend Scott Milligan, who's got classes coming up, and also he's traveling. You can see everything at wedon'tdie.com. And then just a shout out to, well, not really to me, but I have a brand new episode on Shades of the Afterlife called Spiritism and some Afterlife News. What I did is I honored 3 special mediums. One is our friend Sonia Rinaldi. One is Chico Xavier, or you say Chico Xavier, who's now in the spirit world, and then Jose Madrado, all 3 from Brazil with some very different kind of mediumship, very different. And so I included them, and also the religion of Spiritism in Brazil. I think you'll find it very interesting. So that's on Shades of the Afterlife, and everything you can find at wedon'tdie.com. And for our friends that have donated towards our Sunday gathering, we appreciate you. We try not to beg and plead, but every dime makes a difference. It's expensive, the Zoom rooms and everything that we have behind the scenes. If you'd like to donate, or if you'd like to see past Sunday gatherings or register for the next one, there's a Sunday gathering page at wedon'tdie.com. Yes. And Kerry and Phil's page is mymediumship.com. So you can check out where they're traveling and all good things there as well. The last thing I want to say before I turn it over to one of my friends for the closing prayer is, again, advice for me as well as you. Don't be afraid of emotions. Sometimes it's hard to go in there because we have that fear of what could surface. And certainly I do know what grief feels like. I think we all do. And it's tough, but go for those happy memories, those loving times. If you'd like to put your fingers on the keyboard or have that piece of paper in hand and have that dialogue with your loved one. It's never too late. Keep their picture around. When you pass it, say, hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. Whoever it may be, son, daughter. They're still alive. They are still well. In fact, they're even better than they ever were. Healthy, whole, complete, and perfect. And they're cheering you on in this life until you meet again. But you got lots of work to do in this life, really. And if you don't know what to do, take a look at somebody else and go make a difference for them. And you can never go wrong. So I'll pass it to one of my friends for the closing prayer.
Thank you very much, Sandra. What a beautiful theme. Fantastic music and some fantastic mediumship. Thank you. If we can close our service in the usual manner with prayer. Divine, ever-present Spirit, today we honor those people in our lives that we have called Dad, Father, or something else that represents Dad. We want to thank those that have supported us, loved us, treasured us, and allowed us to be exactly who we are. We don't always appreciate those around about us until there's a talk or a thought of them not being there anymore. However, today we bring everything present. We learn to live in the moment, and we learn that although we don't die, the Spirit goes on, and we are forever embraced in that unconditional love. Amen.
Thank you so much, Kerry, and thank you, Phil. Love you guys. Thank you to everyone who's joining us, and thank you to our friends in the spirit world. I point there, but they're all around. The last song is by Brandy Carlisle. It's called Carried You With Me. And I want to just change the word a little bit to I carry you with me, as in present tense. So whether dads are with us on the physical plane or they're in the unseen world, they carry us with them. So I hope you enjoy this song. Beautiful song. I hope you enjoyed it. We've read every message in that chat box. We can't answer them all, but we've read them. So thank you so much for being part of our community. Kerry and Phil, thank you again. Happy Father's Day to Phil and all fathers with us and all fathers around us. Mwah. Love you guys, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye.